Hello, this is MrChabry, and we're going to be talking about the ground types that you can find. So, ground type is a pretty cool typing. It gives you a lot of things that you can hit pretty hard, and of course, with all of these ground typings, Earthquake is a great move. We'll probably see a few that are more special oriented, but if it's a physical attacker with ground type, Earthquake is the way to go. Right off the bat, let's talk about the first one that we see, and that's going to be Diggersby. This is one that you can get pretty early on in the game, and stats-wise, it leaves a lot to be wanted. It's not that fast, even though it's a rabbit. You think it'd be a little bit faster. And it's not the bulkiest Pokemon either. And then attack and special attack are pretty dismal. Now, if you do have one of these, huge power is really the only ability that works well with it. And I'm thinking that might be a hidden ability. But yeah, huge power would actually boost this attack into something that's actually pretty good. And it does get some good moves, like, of course, return, earthquake for stab, quick attack, because, you're a slow rabbit, might as well throw that in there. Fire punch for coverage. You do get swords dance, which actually is pretty good, and that can help you out too. Wild charge is good coverage. U-turn to get your Diggersby out of there. And normal ground is interesting typing. Really, the normal type, the only positive it does is it gives you immunity to ghost, but it gives you a weakness to fighting, which, really, I would say Diggersby is a ground type that, even though it's an early find, I would say it gets outclassed very quickly. So I would say skip this one. Wormadam Sandy form. Now, this ground type is one that I would say right off the bat, skip it. It wants to be a bulky Pokemon. You can see 105 defense is okay, but the HP is pretty low. Special defense, it's trying to be bulky. It just can't really get it. You can see it's got some weaknesses. It does have some good resistances and immunities, but you're going to come across a lot of those weaknesses pretty consistently through your playthrough, and you don't have enough bulk to take hits, and really offensively you can't do anything back. Just look at the set. It's like Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Rock Blast, Sucker Punch, and they're just pointing out that Golem does these things way better. So yeah, this thing is really a terrible Pokemon. It's just going to hold you back. Now, Crocodile is a good ground type. This is probably the first ground type that I'm going to say, if you find you need a ground type, this one will do the job. Crocodile has 117 attack, which is good, 92 speed, which is pretty decent, and 95 HP actually means it has a little bit of bulk where it can actually take hits. So you can actually have a more defensive Crocodile with, say, the Intimidate ability to help your survivability, or a more offensive Crocodile with the ability Moxie, so you can boost yourself up and consistently get more damage. This is a great Pokemon. You get great moves like Knock Off, Stone Edge, Superpower, Earthquake, Crunch if you want a good hard-hitting Dark type move. For like a more defensive set, you can throw Stealth Rock on there. So yeah, this is a great Pokemon. On an in-game team, I would say, go with, of course, in a more offensive set, because this thing will help you just steamroll whole sections of the game. Great Pokemon right here. Keep in mind, you do have quite a few weaknesses, but I think if there's one Pokemon that could overcome those weaknesses, it's going to be Crocodile. This thing is a great ground type. Next up is Hippowdon. I think this is another good ground type. Keep in mind, you are a slow ground type. You're not meant to be fast, but you're a tanky ground type. Look at that. 108 HP, 118 defense. This thing can take so many hits, and it's got 112 attack, so it can actually hit back pretty well. And with the Sandstream ability, once you get out there, you have Sandstorm going, so you're getting some consistent damage on some of your opponent's team. And you should throw things on here like Earthquake, of course. Rock Slide to hit those flying types. But even the move Slack Off is great because you're bulky. You can actually heal that up. So yeah, you also get moves like Crunch for coverage. Body Slam, you can use that to get paralysis. Ice Fang is a good coverage option. So I would say this is a pretty good ground type too. Just keep in mind it's not fast. And a lot of times you want a faster Pokemon as your in-game team Pokemon. But Hippowdon is also a great ground type. Rhyperior. I think Rhyperior is a good ground type too. It is kind of hard to get. You have to get the Protector ability and then item and then trade it. So it might make sense to also glance at Rhydon. But let me tell you, Rhyperior is probably the best rock ground type. Now, that's not the best type combination because you're weak to so many things. But look at these stats. 140 attack, you hit things hard, and you take hits like a champ. Plus, you have the Solid Rock ability, which is going to give you a little bit of more resistance against the things you're weak to, which is quite a few things. But yeah, this thing is a great Pokemon. It is kind of hard to get because you have to have the correct item and then have someone to trade. So we'll glance at Rhydon as well. And Rhydon is pretty good too. 130 attack, 120 defense, 105 HP. Just keep in mind, with both of these Pokemon, their special side is pretty weak. So you want to keep that in mind if you do throw, say, Rhydon or Rhyperior on your team. But otherwise, you know, you've got some good things like Earthquake, Rock Blast, Ice Punch, Mega Horn, Stone Edge. So you do get some really good moves on this thing, and you know that attack stat is great. That defense and HP stat is also great. The ability is great. I think Rhyperior is another solid choice. Just keep in mind you're slow. You don't want to get hit with a special move, especially something that's grass or water, because that pretty much will just more than likely just one-shot you. Steelix is a cool ground type Pokemon. So the thing about Steelix is it has one of the highest defense stats in the game. 200. Its attack stat is okay. It's not the best. It is a slow Pokemon, which is in contrast with Onix, who is a little bit faster. So once you evolve, you lose some of that speed, but you gain great defense. Look at that. And you know, this is a Pokemon that also has a Mega. And look at this defense stat on that. 230. There is not much that can break through this Mega Steelix. You also get some improvement of your special defense, which is important because Steelix's special defense is lacking. You also get good attack at 125. So I would say Mega Steelix is a great Mega. And look, Steel Ground is a great typing. Look at all those resistances that you get. So I would say type-wise, Steelix is great. Stats-wise, Steelix is great. Just keep in mind that it's not the best attack, but with Steelix, you can take tons and tons of hits. I would say throw Heavy Slam on there because that's based on your weight, and Mega Steelix is a heavy beast. Earthquake, of course. Let's see, you can throw things. You get some other moves that might help you out too, like say Crunch for coverage, Aqua Tail for coverage, Dragon Tail. You even get Dragon Pulse. I wouldn't worry about special moves though. Of course, Earthquake, Gyro Ball might be good because you are a pretty slow Pokemon. Ice Fang for some of those dragon types you come across. So yeah, you get some decent moves. You get some good things with your Steelix. So yeah, I would say Steelix is also a pretty good ground type. Marowak is a ground type that I feel gets outclassed pretty easily. I mean, its best thing for it is its bulk, 110 defense. But 60 HP is not really the best. Plus 80 special defense, that's okay. But that HP is holding it back. Plus, you want a bulky Pokemon that can hit back. Because, I mean, you're trading out speed. You should have some more attack. This thing is kind of sad in the attack stat as well. So I think Marowak is one of those ground types that, you know, if you want to challenge yourself, you can use. But otherwise, just skip this guy because he's outclassed by a lot of other ground types that do what he's trying to do a lot better. Golurk is a decent ground type. You get 124 attack, which is pretty good. You got some slight bulk there. It's not the best bulk. Ground Ghost is a pretty cool typing. You get a lot of immunities with this type combination. Keep in mind, this is a physical attacker. So you throw things like Earthquake, Shadow Punch is a great move. You get some pretty good coverage options too, like Dynamic Punch if you go no guard. Otherwise, I would say go Iron Fist and just get all as many punch moves that you want, like Shadow Punch, Ice Punch. Zen Headbutt's a good one. Thunder Punch for coverage. So yeah, you get some really good moves. This thing also gets Stone Edge, which, you know, if no guard, Stone Edge would be pretty good. So yeah, I would say this is a good one. It is kind of outclassed by some of the other ground types we've seen. I mean, it is slow. It's not the bulkiest. I would say its bulk isn't enough to kind of, you know, accept such a slow speed. But it does have some decent attack. So it's a little bit more of a challenge, but I could see it working. Nidoking is it's a Pokemon that's kind of outclassed as well. Poison Ground's an interesting typing. You can see some of the resistances there. It is a cool typing. Otherwise, it has a little bit of bulk, not really a lot, that it can consistently take hits. And its best stat is 90 to attack. However, Sheer Force is a cool ability, but I think that's its hidden ability. So if you had Sheer Force, you can run a special attacking set. You can see here, Earth Power, Ice Beam. It's great special moves, but most of the time you're going to be focused on those physical moves, which, I mean, Earthquake, of course, Body Slam, Poison Jab as well. But otherwise, its physical moves are kind of lackluster compared to the span of all the special moves that it gets. So if you were able to get Sheer Force, this could work as a special attacker. Just keep in mind that it's just mostly focused on bulk than offense. And we're going to see one, you know, a Pokemon that's similar to this that has more offensive pressure than defensive. It is not the fastest either, so I would say this is one that if you're a big Nidoqueen stan, you could probably make it work. It's just not the best. Now, Nidoking is a lot better in my opinion, just because you've got a little bit more speed, a little bit more offensive pressure. Now, it has kind of the same problem as Nidoqueen. Move pull wise, it wants to be a special attacker. Look at these moves: Ice Beam, Sludge Wave, Earth Power. It gets Thunderbolt, Flamethrower. It just gets so many good. It even gets Surf. Just keep that in mind. This thing can get Surf. So it gets such good different coverage options on special moves. But you can see here, its special attack is lackluster. Its stats wants it to be an attacker, but its move pool wants it to be a special attacker. Sheer Force, if you are able to get it, that's the one that helps you out with your special moves, because a lot of them have secondary effects, and that would be great for you. But most of the time, you're going to come across one with, like, say, Poison Point, which, you know, will make something like Poison Jab even better. So keep in mind, you know, if you're a Nidoking stan, you could probably make it work, but it is kind of challenging to run this Pokemon. So yeah, it is unfortunately outclassed. This is probably my favorite Generation 1 Pokemon too, on top of that. Dugtrio. Now, this thing is fast, and that's really what it has going for. It's fast. Now, later on in Sun and Moon, they did add a little bit more attack to it, but we're still here in Gen 6, where it's still pretty lackluster attack. So, really, speed's the only thing Dugtrio has, and that's pretty much it. Earthquake, of course, is a must. Stone Edge. But yeah, this thing is kind of outclassed by some of the other ground types. You know, you do have great speed, but you're frail as all get out, and you don't do much damage back. So I would say skip Dugtrio. Flygon's a pretty cool Pokemon. 100 speed is okay. 100 attack is okay. It's not the best. It's kind of stats-wise, it's kind of mid, but it does have a great typing with Ground Dragon. That's a cool typing, and gives you a lot of offensive pressure that you can use, like Earthquake, Outrage, Dragon Claw, U-turn for support, trying to switch out. But you also get some other moves like Aerolace for cover, for consistent hits. But let's kind of look up here. Of course, you've got 100 attack, and you know, 80 special attack. But you know, this thing does get some pretty cool moves in terms of special moves as well. Bug Buzz is pretty cool. Draco Meteor. Fire Blast it also gets. And I think that's kind of the sad thing with this Pokemon, because, I mean, if it had a little bit more special attack, it could take advantage of those. But otherwise, you know, you're running things like, say, Thunder Punch for coverage, which isn't the best. Stone Edge for coverage. Of course, Power Up Punch can help boost that attack, and I think that actually makes some sense to do that. most of the time you're going to be running things like Dragon Claw, or even, say, Dragon Rush if you need a little more offensive power. Earthquake. You do get some punch moves like Fire Punch. I think it said Thunder Punch as well. Bug Bite, that's not the best. So yeah, move pool wise, you know, I feel like this thing could use a little bit more moves to help it out. But yeah, if you really love Flycon, I could say you can make it work. Just keep in mind, it's kind of mid across the board. Really, speed and attack is its best stats. So yeah, I really do like Flygon myself. I just have to admit that it's just not really impressive stats-wise or move pool-wise. Now, Garchomp is a Dragon Ground type that is impressive. Look at this. 130 attack is great. 102 speed. It's fast. 108 HP. It's bulky. Usually, you have Pokemon that pick one or the other. No, Garchomp has the whole cake, and he's eating it too. He's fast, he hits hard, and he's got some bulk to him. And we've already saw that ground dragon type's a cool typing. But yeah, this is a cool Pokemon. I love it. It has really good move pool. And we'll look at that in a little bit. But first, you also have access to a Mega. Now, a lot of people say that the Mega is actually a downgrade from base because you lose some speed. But you know, what you lose in speed, you make up for in bulk and in attack. Look at that attack. 170. You're cutting through everything. You're taking hits that you weren't able to take before. And not only that, you can see base Garchomp, you have 80 special attack, which is, you know, okay, not the best. 120 special attack now. You could run a special Mega Garchomp and still do a lot of work. You can throw special coverage on that thing. And we'll look at some of the coverage options you get, because you actually get quite a few things that you can do. Now, of course, your ground type, Earthquake is a must. Something like Dragon Claw or Outrage is great. You get Fire Blast on this thing, which is good coverage. And we'll scroll down here to look at some of these other things. Swords Dance. You've already got high attack. Might as well just knock it out of the roof. Draco Meteor is a pretty good move. You see there's a lot of different suggested sets on this thing. But yeah, Draco Meteor, Earth Power if you want more special focus. Iron Head is a good coverage. Iron Tail is also pretty good coverage. Poison Jab that helped you out with some of those fairy types. Stone Edge is also a great move. So yeah, you get some really good moves. You know, Shadow Claw is pretty good coverage too. We already saw Flamethrower. Fire Blast is good. So yeah, you've got some good things that you can throw on your Garchomp and have the ability to just cut right through pretty much anything your opponent tries to answer with. So I think Garchomp is a solid pick if you find that you want a ground dragon type and, you know, a Flygon's not really cutting it for you. This thing will cut it. This thing will cut right through. This is probably one of the best ground types in Pokemon. Next up, we go to Golem, which is kind of an outclassed Pokemon. I mean, it has good defense and good attack. But that's really it. You're not fast enough to take advantage of that, and your special is really low. So I think, honestly, I mean, if we want to compare this Pokemon to something, we could compare it to Rhyperior. Rhyperior has a little bit more bulk, which actually helps it out, and more in attack and defense, or attack, which the HP, I think, is a big thing to focus on. Higher HP really does help, and plus you got that solid rock ability versus this thing that is slow, and it's going to get knocked out pretty quickly. Now you do have Sturdy, so if you do get hit, like say with a water type move, if you have Sturdy, you'll live with 1 HP. But if your whole plan for your in-game team is, okay, my Golem will at least survive this surf, might be best to just cut Golem out. So I do think that this thing is outclassed specifically by Rhyperior, because it's same typing, same gimmick, just does it a lot better. And even if we look at Rhydon, you know, Rhydon does have a little bit more HP. Yeah, it does have a little bit more HP. Attack-wise, let me see here. Attack-wise, it does have more attack. So you're kind of trading attack and defense there. But I do think Rhydon is better because the HP really does help you out. And I think Rhydon does get better moves as well, because, you know, here you're running Earthquake, Stone Edge, and then Sucker Punch. You do get Fire Punch, and Explosion is kind of the thing that Golem is known for. But I do feel like that it is outclassed. You probably could make it work, because it does have that good attack and good defense stat. Just be wary of this thing, because it is easy to be knocked out. Quagsire is an interesting ground type. It is a water ground type, which gives it a cool set of resistances, and it's only weak to grass, so type-wise, that's a great type combination. It is a bulkier-minded Pokemon. It's slow. It doesn't really hit that hard, but it does have some okay bulk, and that's really it. Now, you can see here it was an OU in Generation 6, and that's mostly because of you know, the typing and kind of where it fits in with the metagame, where, you know, you had all these setup Pokemon and you run unaware, so you don't even notice it. But on an in-game team, it will kind of be of a struggle. I'm not going to say it's not going to work. I'm just going to say it's going to be a little bit tougher than, say, throwing Garchomp on there. Stunfisk, this is one that I would say just skip, because it's just not a good ground type. I mean, it does have Ground Electric, which is a cool typing, really unique typing. But that's pretty much all that it has. It doesn't have enough special attack to really do much. It is a bulky-minded Pokemon. It is slow, but, you know, it doesn't do much at all. It's usually used as, like, some support or utility. It's not good for an in-game team. I would say skip this little fish. Whiscash is another fish that you probably should skip. It does have that great typing that I really like. But, you know, if we compare it to the other water ground, it's got a little bit less bulk, you know, and it just doesn't hit back as hard. Now, you do have things on here like Dragon Dance, but I don't think Whiscash is the Pokemon that can necessarily pull that off consistently. Is kind of a struggle to make it work. And you can see here, they suggest a special set for the first one, choice specs, and then here, you know, you're running Waterfall and Earthquake for stab, and then substitute to hope that you can set up a Dragon Dance in the first place. So, yeah, Whiscash is probably one that you want to skip. It's just not that great. Mamoswine, however, is a great ground type. You can see Ice Ground is really cool. The only problem is it gives you a lot of weaknesses. You're only resisting poison and immune to electric. So the typing, honestly, the typing does hold Mamoswine back. But you see, it has really good stats. It's got decent speed at 80. It's got decent bulk with its HP. And then attack is really good at 130. So this is a decent Pokemon. You know, throw things on there like Earthquake, Icicle Crash, Knock Off for coverage, Superpower for coverage. Ice Shard is a good choice because you're not the fastest thing. So Ice Shard gives you a chance to hit things with that 130 attack before, you know, you have to worry about getting hit. So yeah, this is another good ground type. Just keep in mind that it is going to struggle because the second typing or the primary typing on it is not really the best. Ice really hurts it defensively. So yeah, I would say this is a decent choice. Just keep in mind that it is a challenge to make work because of its typing. But other than that, this is a really good ground type. Sandslash, I love Sandslash. It's one of my favorites of Generation 1. However, I do have to admit that it is outclassed by a lot of the ground types we've already looked at. 1 to 10 defense is okay, but, you know, 75 HP is not really helping it out. And then 100 attack is kind of outclassed by, you know, a lot of the things that we've seen so far. Speed, it is slow. And it's sad that it's such a slow Pokemon. So yeah, I think this is one that might be best to skip. It is kind of a challenge to make it fit on your team, especially since you get it later in the game, which I'm actually surprised it's such a late game Pokemon here in X and Y. By this point, you've came across tons of ground types that work way better for a team with way better stats than this thing. Gliscor, now this is what's considered a bulky ground type, and that ground flying type is great. That makes it only weak to water and ice. So yeah, this is a beautiful typing, beautiful bulk. Look at that, 125 defense, 95 speed's pretty good. It's good to have a good, bulky, fast Pokemon. Not only that, you do have some attack where you can actually fire back things. And you do get Swords Dance on this thing. So I would say, you know, throw Swords Dance, throw Roost. Earthquake is your main go-to. You can also have things for coverage like Ice Fang. Acrobatics is a lot of people will use on this thing on an in-game team. Maybe Aerial Ace, but you get other coverage options too, like Aqua Tail, Brick Break, Cross Poison. You also get Fire Fang. You get Ice Fang, Thunder Fang. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check, make sure. Yep, Thunder Fang. Swords Dance, of course, is going to boost you up. U-turn to get out of there. X Scissor for a bug type move. So yeah, you get some really good moves on here. Poison Jab if you want to hit some of those fairies. So yeah, this is a great Pokemon. It's got good bulk, good moveset, good survivability, good offensive pressure. This is a great ground type. If you find that you need a ground and flying type, well, this guy fits both niches pretty well. Gliscor is a great Pokemon. And the last ground type we're going to look at is actually Zygarde. Now, Zygarde is like a really late game Pokemon. It's one that you might end up, I don't remember if it's like post game content. Usually the third legendary is, but you can see it's got good stats too. 121 defense with 108 HP. It's great. 100 attack is okay. 95 speed's pretty good. So it's mostly minded with the bulk. And you can throw things like Coil to boost up your attack, and you've already got good bulk. So you should be able to throw some of those off. Or Dragon Dance if you want to go mostly offensive. And I do appreciate the setup potential of Zygarde. Now, keep in mind, you know, in this game, it's only base Zygarde. You don't get the other Zygarde forms like Complete Zygarde or 10% Zygarde. It's just this 50% Zygarde that you're stuck with in X and Y. And I think it's interesting that this is the third legendary of Generation 6, but they don't give you the necessary tools to make it usable until Gen 7. So imagine like in Gen 4 they added things to make Rayquaza better. It's kind of like that mentality. But yeah, you can see here that this is a bulky Pokemon. It's good typing. We already saw that typing with, say, Garchomp. And you can see, you know, it's more defensive-minded than Garchomp is. But I still think it's a great Pokemon. Just keep in mind, it's a late-game Pokemon. Its ability, Aura Break, is really cool because it's very specific to the other legendaries of Generation 6, Dark and Fairy type. So yeah, this is a really cool Pokemon here. You can actually set things up. Just keep in mind, it's probably one of the last Pokemons you'll come across, so it's not going to do much for your in-game team playthrough. Anyway, what do you think about these ground types? Is there a ground type that you really know that you're going to use? Let me know in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you in the next Pokemon video.